You know that feeling, right? You ask an AI assistant a totally normal question, and you get that brick wall, I can't help with that. It happens all the time. The AI is so cautious, it ends up being, well, kind of useless. But what if the fix isn't just about making it safer, but actually making it fundamentally smarter? Well, let's dive into a really fascinating new approach that does just that.
Okay, check this out. It's a perfect example. Someone asked the AI to do a simple job. Just analyze the sentiment of a phrase that happens to have some sensitive words in it. The user's goal is totally harmless, right? They're just looking at language. But the AI? It just sees those keywords, panics, and slams on the safety brakes. It totally misses the point.
And that right there brings us to the heart of the problem, a behavior that's really holding these AIs back from being as useful as we want them to be.
So this thing actually has a name. It's called over-refusal. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It happens when an AI's safety programming is basically a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel. It sees a couple of tricky words and just shuts the whole operation down, completely failing to understand the actual harmless thing you ask it to do. It's not just unhelpful, it's super frustrating for us, the users. So what's the solution here? I mean, you can't just turn off all the safety features, right? That would be a disaster. Researchers knew they had to go deeper to really get inside the AI's brain and figure out how it's making these calls in the first place.
And that led to a really fundamental question. How can you even see what an AI is thinking? I mean, it's not a human brain, obviously, but it turns out there is an internal process, one you can actually map.
And this gives us a little peek into what that looks like. Think of it this way. When you give the AI a prompt, that prompt goes on a journey. It travels through all these different layers of calculation inside the model. And that journey creates a unique path, or what the researchers call a trajectory. That's what all those colored lines are. Every single prompt creates its own distinct path.
Okay, so this is where it gets really, really cool. Once they started mapping thousands and thousands of these paths, they found something, a hidden pattern, that pretty much changed everything.
Now, at first glance, it just looked like pure chaos. I mean, look at this. This is what you get when you map the paths for a ton of different tasks all at once. Translation, summarization, you name it. It's just a giant, unreadable mess of lines, like a digital spaghetti monster. Absolutely no pattern in sight.
But then they had that classic aha moment. They thought, wait a second, what if we filter this? What if we only look at the paths for one specific task? And this is the result. On the left, you've got that chaotic mess we just saw. But look at the right. When they isolated only the sentiment analysis tasks, bam, a clean, beautiful, predictable pattern just appears out of nowhere. And get this, it wasn't a fluke. They discovered this was true for every kind of task. Translation had its own unique shape. Summarization had its own shape. They decided to call these amazing, task-specific patterns constellations. It was like finding this perfect, hidden order buried inside all that chaos. And that, right there, was the key insight. The big breakthrough. As one of the researchers said, the AI's internal logic, its map, isn't organized by a list of bad keywords. It's organized by the job it's being asked to do. This means, deep down, the model actually already knows the difference between, say, analyzing a harmful phrase and actually carrying out a harmful action. So armed with this discovery, they could now build a really elegant solution, a way to fix the problem without having to completely rebuild the AI from the ground up. Okay, so how does it work? Well, the method is called SafeConstellations, and you can think of it like a GPS for the AI's thought process. It's brilliant. First, it maps out the constellations for a task. It knows what the helpful road looks like and what the unnecessary refusal dead end looks like. Then, when a new prompt comes in, it figures out which task it is, which map to use. After that, it watches the AI's journey. Is it starting to take a wrong turn towards that refusal dead end? And if it is, and this is the clever part, it applies just a tiny, gentle nudge to steer it back onto the right path. That's it.
Now that all sounds great in theory, right? A gentle nudge. But the big question is, does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's take a look at the results.
Honestly, the difference is night and day. Just look at this table. Before, you ask it to translate a phrase with the words body shaming in it, and it just says, nope, can't do that. But with SafeConstellations, it does the translation perfectly and even adds a little context note. Look at the next one, sentiment analysis. Before, it refuses. After, it does the analysis correctly, noting the negative sentiment. It's actually doing its job now. And the numbers? They are seriously impressive.
In their tests, this SafeConstellations method cut down on those frustrating over-refusals by as much as 73%. And here's the really crucial part. It did all this without making the model worse at other things, and without affecting its ability to say no to genuinely harmful requests. That's a huge win.
So, let's be super clear about the takeaway here. This is not about making AI less safe. Not at all. It's about making it more precise. It's about giving the AI the nuance to finally understand the difference between a harmful intent and a harmless task that just uses sensitive words. It's trading that big, clumsy hammer for a surgical scalpel.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty mind-blowing final thought. We now know we can gently steer an AI's internal process. So, if we can steer it away from being unhelpful, what positive things could we steer it towards? Could we nudge it to be more creative, more empathetic, maybe to find insights that we haven't seen yet? The door is now open, and the possibilities are, frankly, incredibly exciting to think about.